What's up, fellow Lords of Gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. I hope you guys have had a great weekend. Coming off of my giant boss raid video, where I think a lot of players are understanding that currently in the game landscape, Storm Armor is just not for everyone. So jumping inside of public events is not going to do this. Now, I've been playing it still because I've been wanting to run a test to see some things that pretty much I already knew. Like, I follow Beast Mode Gaming. He does roast almost all the time, and it's kind of funny to see some of the builds people have in those. So obviously I didn't want to shit on you guys because you guys play the game shitty, but I do want to give you guys an insight onto how you guys should be successful building class. So I'm going to call this building 101 for you players that don't understand how you should be building characters. All right, so let's jump in here. I'm going to use Iron Man as the basis for building the character, since he's basically got his tier 3 and tier 4. So a lot of the resources, I think I just prefer to have them dumped in here. I know there's a lot of talk about that, you know, quite possibly Thor will be the next one up for his tier 4. I'm not really exactly excited for Thor to be tier 4, just because truthfully, I know even if he does his tier 4, at what point has this dude ever really been meta inside the PvE or PvP landscape? I don't feel like that's going to change any point in any time. So let's take a look at these things though. So first up, there's a couple of things that you need to know in order to get your character to tier 3 or above. Now, obviously the advancement that we do is pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to it. It's how you build the character that is looking like most people just don't know what the hell they're doing. First off, details are really important. There are a couple of details in here that are going to change depending upon the cards you as a player have. For instance, if your card deck doesn't give you a lot of crit rate or crit damage or dodge or whatever, those are going to change. So for instance, like my cards are giving me about 55% dodge to start out with. That means that my dodge can cap out relatively easy, while my crit damage is almost equally as capped out. For here, you can see like my ignored dodge is not necessarily capped out on this Iron Man suit yet, because obviously he's not completely built up. But let's go take a look at this real quick. All right, so first up, uniform. Kind of important that you upgrade your uniform to a place where it's going to be usable to you. Now, the most important thing in here about having your uniform upgraded is that you're going to want to make sure that you have the suits, right? So now a lot of these might not be necessary to you if you already have like the stats completely filled out. So for instance, right here, we can see Spider-Man No Way Home and War Machine are required, but you can see it's giving me attack speed and energy defense. We can change those options inside here, but if you notice, my dodge is already capped out. So I don't necessarily need to roll dodge on this skill because there's no point in it because I already have dodge capped out. Meanwhile, over here with Spider-Man No Way Home, you can see that I have physical attack, energy attack, physical defense, energy, and HP available as options. Now, obviously, never leave these on energy defense, never leave them on physical defense. Iron Man does what kind of damage? Make sure that you're putting the proper damage inside here. If you're unaware as to what the proper damage is, it's really easy to find out. Just go take a look at the stats. So for the skills, so for instance, for Iron Man, I know that he is an energy character. Most of the blast characters are energy characters, but you can simply come over here to his skills and you can take a look, and this icon right over here on the skills will tell you what it is. See that? All the skills pretty much say energy damage. At one point in time, you did have characters like Thor who kind of were hybrid physical and energy characters, and it kind of mattered a little. It still didn't really matter, but that's what you're essentially looking at, right? So you can see all of the skill icons on there. So that means that when you go in here and you build this Iron Man character, you want to make sure that you focus him in on energy builds. Okay, so this is going to matter in two areas of the game. Number one, if I'm over here looking at building up his uniform, so doing his uniform options, for instance, I'm going to change this to energy attack. I don't want to have this as physical attack because if I do, he's not benefiting from it. So why would you do that? It's just not, it's not worth it. Now, you can change this up to go HP. I do like to go HP in a lot of my characters. I'm severely lacking in terms of, where I'm at currently for my energy based on my cards, but that's just my error. So you can build up your decks a number of ways. Your uniforms, you can use uniform XP upgrade chips if you want to. For characters like Iron Man, it's probably not so much, you know, that you need to do those. You just take your time and build them up. It's all dependent upon where you currently are in the game. That's going to really make the difference there. You want to make sure too that you're not building up outpacing yourself in here, because there's no real point in terms of like outpacing where you're going to go in terms of the character build if you're not going to be able to utilize him at the end, because you're just going to have it like what's the point of me raising all my uniform options up if I don't have 3 or 4 of the characters that are available to me inside the uniform options. So I know that for the majority of his uniforms, I do have the uniform option, so that's why I'm using uniform XP chips. Otherwise, the easiest way to do this and to gain the uniform XP is simply to jump inside like dimension missions and play those, so that way you get the uniform XP from there. Story mode missions, I believe, also apply those. Really simple ways to get uniform XP inside there. If you have the benefits of your VIP pack, you won't necessarily need to go out 100% for a lot of these upgrades. Cable extra swords, I don't think I have him, excuse me, I don't think I have him inside there. Now, another way for you to actually get those uniform all the way up there is to simply use uniform upgrade tickets. The great thing about the uniform upgrade tickets is that you can acquire those from areas like story mode. I believe you get the uniform upgrade tickets, or you can purchase them inside the shop as well. I usually hold on to mine for characters that are paywalled, because getting the BIOS for those characters is a little bit more tedious. But if you really want it in a clutch, and you just really one of those players that have to have it right away, immediately now, then get ahead and use the you know, the uniform upgrade tickets. Those things are pretty expensive. They're about $40 inside the shop. So a mega uniform upgrade ticket, yeah, my friends, you definitely want to hold on to those, in my opinion, for some character that's not going to be free to play, where the BIOS are going to be a little bit harder to achieve. So once you get here, for instance, you can see I do not own the classic Arrow uniform. I don't own it at all. Now, the good thing about sales that come up is that Arrow will be available for a discounted purchase. You know, now, whether or not you actually want to purchase a uniform that you don't own, that's completely up to you. Like, for instance, I don't really think that I would ever utilize that Arrow uniform at all. I like the one that was previously there. Is this going to make or break my Iron Man? More than likely not. So I'm going to leave that off for now. Now, if it's going to make or break yours, then you might want to change that, right? So next up, the main important piece of this is going to be memorizing, or, you know, understanding the way you should build out your character gear slots inside here. Now, there's one potential slot in here that you really want to pay attention to, and that's going to be this slot right here, your 4th gear piece. You notice here it says movement speed is the option that's there. There should be no reason that you're potentially using movement speed inside there, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, is movement speed going to really make or break you? Probably not. It's not one of those stats that you really need to be concerned about. So you can change these for another number of other options inside here. So for instance, I can see crit rate, crit damage, ignore defense, skill cooldown, recovery rate, and dodge. Like I said, my dodge is already maxed out, and all of my other skills are also maxed out. So I'm going to invest this in another area that is probably going to help me out more, and that's going to do my recovery rate. Now, this might not necessarily help out Iron Man, because I don't think he has any recovery skills, but I have to take a look at that. So we'll look at that and see. But there we go. So we got recovery rate on there, and then we can go inside here and look at the details on that and see how it changes my recovery rate. So that's number 1. Now, skills. Make sure all of these are leveled up. If you don't have the skills leveled up, you're not going to be able to get to tier 3. Another place to be concerned right here is your blast type. You want to make sure that your blast types are getting up there, especially for characters you're potentially taking to tier 3 and above. So let's take a look at the character gear now. So we have 4 gears with each of them having 5 Uru amplifications. Now, I'm going to give you guys a quick tutorial on this. Number 1, amplify. I usually go for amplification of at least 4 slots. 4 slots at a minimum, and if I can get 5, great. If I can't get 5, then maybe not. Now, a character like Iron Man, to be honest with you, I'm not going to do it on while I'm recording this video, but a character like Iron Man, where he's going to be potentially T4'd for me at some point, I'm going to more than likely put him at tier 5. If it's a character that I like, for instance, like I'm a fan of Black Bolt, I'm a fan of Thor, I'm a fan of Nova, those characters, I know automatically I'm going for amplification of 5 because I'm going to fully invest in them. That also is going to change the type of Uru that I put to that character. So what do I mean by that? If I have any Odin's Blessings for a character that I'm really enamored with, that I really like, that I really want to play with, and I know that I really want to have all cross, I'm going to use my Uru over here, and that's going to be a whole host of Uru. Now, here goes the important part to remember about Uru, is that Uru basically is going to give you higher stats. Now, if your stats are maxed out already, like some of us are because of our cards, some of the stats on the Uru aren't going to really make a difference to you, and you're really just looking at the energy attack, the crit damage, those things like that are going to get, you know, major boosts inside there for you. So for instance, I've got an HP. I'm going to go ahead and equip that HP Uru on there so that way I can have it in one of the amplification slots. I want you to pay attention that you can only have one type of an Uru on a slot. You can't have identical Urus there. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to give Iron Man, and this is something that you want to make sure that you do with every single one of your characters. You want to give them double of the type of damage that is applicable to that character. So for instance, Iron Man is an energy attack character. I want to get as high as possible in my Uru that I can give him. So energy attack is going to be it. I'm definitely going to make sure no matter what, at a base level, I give him energy attack on every single one of his character gears. This is going to help boost up his energy attack and is going to help you clear content overall. So just make sure that you do that. Do not, I don't care what you're doing, don't put a freaking physical attack Uru on an energy attack character. It just doesn't make sense. There's like no purpose in it whatsoever. You're just pretty much at that point wasting an Uru, and you're just not really helping your character out in any shape, form, way. So now once you have these double energy attacks and you've kind of filled out things, the next thing that you would want to do as a player is you want to come in here and you want to look at the details, because everybody's is going to be a little bit different. You want to see where you need to be filling out the character more, meaning like, are you low on crit rate? Are you low on crit damage? Are you low on ignore defense, ignore dodge? What are you low on that you want to be able to help out the most, right? Now, two of the stats that you should be primarily concerned with as a beginning player is going to be the ignore defense, the cooldown duration, definitely 100% the ignore dodge, especially if you're playing inside like world bosses and stuff like that. So pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do with my Iron Man is I'm going to make sure that all of my Urus are equipped inside here specifically for that. So I'm going to give this final HP Uru. Where did it go? Did I already equip it? I guess I already equipped it in here somewhere. I thought I only gave him one. But okay, so now what I'm looking for inside here is the ignore dodge Urus inside here, right? So basically, I know that his ignore dodge is just a little bit lower. I need to have that one rounded out and maxed out, but it doesn't look like I have anything there for him. So I guess I'm gonna have to move on. So now basically how you build out your character from here with the other stats is completely up to you, right? Like you need to, it's gonna be largely dependent on your count. Now, I'm gonna point out some Uru that you do not want to equip to a character. Energy defense, don't equip to a character. Physical defense, don't equip to a character. It's going to do nothing for you. So there's no point in even possibly remotely equipping those Urus. You know what? Don't do it, okay? Like it's just pointless. I don't even know how to go about that to say any more than that, than to say it is completely pointless for you to equip those Urus. So what I'm going to do here with my Iron Man to kind of fill this out is I'm going to give him some of the HP Urus to just give him some more health, make him more beefier inside of his build overall. So I'm going to try to make sure that these Urus are kind of slotted inside the amplification. Now, I can't tell you, I am going to come back here regardless, and I'm going to make sure that those slots that are not in the 5th gear slot, I'm going to make sure that those are rounded out. So this last Uru will go here. And now, just for the sakes of just showing you guys this, I am going to give him some Uru inside here that I have extra on hand. So like my Amplify Uru, I'll equip that over here. Like I said, I'm coming back to this character. My energy attack Uru, I seem to have some of those, so I'm going to equip him with that. And let's give him another one of those as well, so that way his Uru is completed out. Now I'm going to come back here at some point and I will amplify these Uru slots even further. Okay, so that's basically how you're filling it out. So now what I want to be able to see inside here is maxed out stats, and you can see the exceeded stats inside the game that exist there, right? It's really simple, really easy to do. So we've made it through the majority of building the character. Now if your character has any artifacts that you can equip those artifacts, level them up as you see. Now the next thing that you want to pay attention to is this, the custom gear. Okay, there's a couple of type of gear that you can put on a character. You can either put any of the CTPs that are available, or you can put obelisks. The obelisks that you should be hunting are going to be obelisks that have a proc on them. That means that you can see these numbers right here, where it's going to say like increase in basic damage by 140 or 200%, 180 or some type of percentage. That is going to be a proc, right? What I'm looking for is the base level stats, so that way I can say, okay, well, this is going to help out the character the most. So for instance, like me putting a lightning damage obelisk on a character like Iron Man isn't going to help if he's not dealing lightning damage, right? So that would help me if I was building up a character like Thor though, right? So you can see I have a few of these that I'm just building. So for instance, let's look at this one. This one has crit damage, dodge, and then it also has a proc with an activation effect on it as well, right? So this would be a good obelisk to put on a character, because it's going to boost up that critical damage, it's going to boost up that dodge, and give me a proc on them. Now, the next thing that you need to be aware of is how a character plays. So for instance, whether that character does chain hit damage, whether that character's skills make them not usable in a very proc friendly way, meaning that if the character's skills are going to proc on off skills where you want damage to be applied, or if a character is going to be able to do raw damage really quickly, similar to what Iron Man is, then you want to equip those type of CTP on them. For me, for Iron Man, he felt like a CTP of energy character, right? Now, I don't have any more CTP in here that are like mighty or brilliant, which is what you really want to be going for your CTP. So he just has a base level CTP in here. I can almost guarantee you that I will reforge this. So I'll do it right here on stream, so that way you can see it. So I'm going to reforge this CTP using this, so that way I can get either a brilliant or a mighty. Most likely I'm not going to get a brilliant. Like, that's just the truth of the matter. I'll probably end up with a mighty CTP, but I'll be happy with that mighty CTP. Now, if you get a brilliant, by all means. So you can see that this one is giving him a beatdown skill, is also giving him increased pierce damage by 20% of concentration. So if I had concentration on my cards, this would be great, but the base increased additional pierce damage by 6% is pretty nice. This is also going to affect the way you build your cards when you see stats like that. Now, obviously, I would have liked a brilliant CTP instead of a mighty CTP, but you know, you take what you can get. So essentially, that's that in a nutshell for leveling up a character. Like, you want to make sure that your character is built out at the very least in that way. If you're not, then something's wrong. If you are looking at your character overall and you don't understand that basic level, then you have royally screwed the pooch. Now, my Iron Man is ready for advancement. Advancement is going to take a lot inside tier 3, but you can see that I'll equip House Party Protocol with his uniform. I'll also lose quite a few resources since he's a very free-to-play friendly character, not as much as it possibly could be, but I can almost guarantee you that I'm going to lose quite a bit when my man goes into working his way up to tier 4. So that's T3ing Iron Man overall inside the game. Pretty damn easy in terms of how to build a character. Now, what else is there that you should be aware of for building out a character? ISO 8, okay? This is the part where you cannot lose all sight of all hope. So I want you to pay attention, because Iron Man wasn't a T3 character for me, meaning that I didn't necessarily like the character overall. Iron Man's never been one of the characters I've just been extremely antsy about, happy about. Notice that inside of here, my ISO 8 is literally listed as just plain. I'm only getting a set bonus stage 6 effect from the characters here. that's pretty bad, right? Because I could be getting so much more from these. Like for instance, even when you look at ISO 8 that you're equipping, this stuff does matter. So for instance, I got crit damage and physical defense. I can tell you right now at the bat that was me just dropping shit on my character, right? You can see those inside here, right? There's no reason for me to have a physical defense ISO 8 on, you know, a character like Iron Man, right? So for instance, I'm going to get rid of that one by equipping this one over here because I don't really care. And you'll notice that this one is completely awakened. You want to pay attention to those because fortunately it is going to help you out a lot. So I would look at all of these and then I would basically make sure that you go into quick and enhancing all of these. How that's done is really simple. You can see this one right here is already enhanced. So I'm going to quick enhance this one by simply selecting some of the ISO 8 that I have now, and that lets you know why it's important to farm those. After you complete that, you then need to awaken each of the ISO 8s. Yes, you actually have to awaken these bastards. Why is it not giving me auto select for these? Okay, so when you have the normal extreme boost ISOs, it's pretty easy for you to just auto select them and pay the gold. Yeah, this part right here gets pretty expensive. So this is the reason why we say as a beginning player, you want to be focusing on a set of characters. I always tell everybody that if you're playing Marvel Future Fight, make sure that you at least have a character from each of the types, meaning you have a blast character, a universal character, a speed character, and a combat character for different game modes, and then build around those characters. Now, obviously you can stick to the meta if you want to, or you can choose to go outside. So I'm gonna level these up and then we'll be right back. Okay, so now that we've basically got all of these effects going, we can see that the set bonus is going to basically increase the tier of the ISO 8 stats that we are receiving, and that's a good thing. Now, obviously the set bonuses also matter, and a lot of players I'm noticing don't really have set bonuses that really make a difference. Essentially, there's only really two set bonuses that you are really concerned about getting, and that's Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive. If you're using pretty much any one of the other ones, I don't know what you're doing. They're really not that worth using. You pretty much want to stay within Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive. Like, that's pretty much it. Getting a Hawkeye isn't necessarily bad. You know, it is what it is. If you get a Hawkeye, just be happy with getting Hawkeye for some of your characters that you're not really necessarily worried about. It's not a bad ISO set to use. It's just, you know, Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive are there. And I say Power of Angry Hulk #1, Overdrive #2. So that's going to matter inside there. Those will also affect your stats overall. They don't seem to affect them as much as like your cards or, you know, your Uru that you equip and your uniforms, but they do have somewhat of a play on the stat numbers, your stat line anyways, right? So make sure that you're changing those. Now, for Iron Man, we can see that we basically, it's funny how they put out a survey for us at one point to ask us what are the things that we want to affect, and I think a lot of players was like, hey, make the tier 3ing process a lot easier, and we ended up getting tier 4 now with what is appearingly to be a rehash of tier 3. Like the stages to go to tier 3 with new added materials. So basically we get to do the tier 3 process all over again for tier 4, because you have to search for second potential, right, to acquire second potential point, and you have to clear World Boss Legend for it. I want you to pay attention to this too, because essentially in order to get your potential, before they were selling an item to us that basically allowed us to skip potential enhancement. So for instance, if you were to go to my inventory and you were to look at some of the items, you can see, for instance, like I have a way to skip enhancement, you know, potential and stuff like that. Like the same thing with the type enhancements and so forth like that. Like you were able to realize potential, right? Now, if you look at those stats, we can't do that anymore, because now in order to hit that second potential, you have to play this character inside of World Boss Legend. So that's the only place you can get it. Now, the benefit of this is you can either use the character on a team, meaning that I can utilize the character and put him right on a team, and then he'll get potential from being one of the played characters, or you can set him as an ally in the team as well in order to get his potential unlocked that way. Either one is beneficial to you overall, but you're going to have to search out this potential overall for the character. Now, the really shucky part about this is that when I want to go to enhance this character now beyond that potential, I then have to go into this new mode, right? It's the same rehashing of the first mode, but with new materials. So now I have to go and find carbonadium instead of finding, you know, Essence of Dimension and Titan component packs. Now I have to have Soul of the Faultine instead of having Essence of Dimension, Titan component packs. I have to have CCF still, you know, to increase the character, but essentially it becomes a really expensive investment in terms of getting that character too. And you can see, like, getting the character just even one level from level 25 to 26, it's going to cost you about 12 of these Souls of the Faultine, and it's going to cost you about 18 of the carbonadium, and then 6 of your CCF. Now, the CCF has become a lot easier to obtain straight through World Boss Legend, even collecting at lower levels, but the sad truth is that now carbonadium is going to be a real hurt locker inside the game because it's not distributing as much carbonadium as Essence of Dimension or Titan component packs, which haven't been lessened and these have been increased. And even worse than that, you can only get the Souls of the Faultine through one place: Giant Boss Raid Dormammu. This is the part where we run into the flack, because even for veteran players like me who don't have mature rosters, teams, or alliances, you're going to have to find players that you can rely on here. So even if I go to Giant Boss Raid and I look at Dormammu, that means I can collect roughly about 150 Souls of the Faultine a day. I'm going to need the Book of Ashanti Blast at the end over there, but that's what you're looking down the barrel at. So when you're talking about being in position to even play Dormammu, a lot of players don't even have properly built characters. They don't even have proper understanding of skill rotation for characters. I wanted to give you guys this series in order to help you understand how to build a character, why you should be building a character, and what a real T3 character looks like. Because I think a lot of people are under the impressions that they have characters that are ready for the live game, and the sad truth of the matter is that they don't. You basically have a T3 character who's not ready for business, who's not ready for play, who's just, you know, you're way off the mark. So we have to look at that overall in terms of when you're building characters. This is how you properly do it. You'll know when you have a properly built character, when all of these things can look like they're completely filled out. I plan on making another video for you guys to show you how you understand skill rotations and procs for characters as well, and hopefully that helps you. In the meantime, everything in between, you can look at the ranking of your stats and where you need to improve the character, so that way you can see those things overall. Artifacts aren't really necessarily that important, but they do help bonuses. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about it. I know that this seems relatively easy to do and that you would expect a lot of players are doing it. Unfortunately, they're not. You can go into plenty of people's characters and look at their characters overall and tell that they're not using any character that you're actively using. You should have filled out completely like this. I'm not saying every character needs to have ESOs. Not every character needs to have custom gear. Not every character needs to have everything filled out, you know, completely 100%, especially if you're not actively using those characters. But this is what you should be working towards if you're actively using a character, and that you're going to play it in content like Boss Raid Dormammu. You're going to play it in content like World Boss Legend. You're going to play it in content like World Boss Ultimate, or you're going to play it even in dispatch missions. You want to make sure that your character is completely leveled up just to meet those needs. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace.